Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk. Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me as always is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show. I greet you in the new digs we have here at the Stream.tv here in Hollywood, California for this magnificent Tuesday afternoon. I'm in such a good mood today. I'll explain a little bit why a bit later.
Also joining us today, we have AMC Movie News Associate Editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hello, guys. So happy to be here in our sexy new digs, and I just want to give a little shout out to you guys, our wonderful fans. We literally would not be here without you, so thank you so much for your support.
And we also have AMC News Entertainment Correspondent, Erin Darling.
Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so happy to be here. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday indeed. And today is kind of it's a bit of a special day, as a matter of fact. And if you'll indulge me for a second in a bit of self-congratulatory diatribe here. Sometime in the next 24 hours, the AMC Movie News YouTube channel is going to cross 100,000 subscribers. Now, that's a giant number for some, and compared to some others, it's a relatively tiny number. But it's actually kind of interesting when you put it all in context. We started AMC Movie Talk back in January as a daily show. Now, I went to to Google's head office here in California and talked to their YouTube representatives, who told me that, basically speaking, the most successful YouTube videos and YouTube channels are those that are under 2 minutes and basically have a very short attention span. That's what succeeds. Now, they looked at some of our videos that we were doing at the time, which included things like celebrity interviews and small, short news pieces, and they even told me those are too long. That 3-minute interview should be chopped up into 3 separate pieces, just a video per question, because, basically speaking, the average YouTube video is viewed for less than 1 minute. Now, the most successful YouTube channels and videos are usually based around comedy, and they're short. And so when I was proposing the idea of having a half-hour-long daily show that wasn't based on comedy, but rather just news discussion on movies, everybody told us that it would never work. Even AMC said, "We don't think this will work. This is probably a bad idea." But to AMC's credit, and as basically a tribute to their leadership, they said, even though we don't think it'll work, we think it should be given a try. And so we did. And we launched a new show, half-hour long, every single day, when everybody said, and all the math said, that it would never work. It's too long, and people don't want to watch it every day. And it wasn't comedy. But we did it anyway, because I believe that film fans are a lot like sports fans in many ways. We are very passionate about what we do. We love the things that we love. We love to debate about it. We love to cheer them. We love to boo them. We love to engage. And so, like film fans, when we have the opportunity to engage and talk and debate and agree and disagree, we'll do it. And I believe that film fans, one way or the other, no matter how big or how small the audience, would want to tune in and watch that type of content. And so that's what we did. Now here we are, about 9 months later. My goal was to reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2013. Well, here we are at 100,000. We want to thank you guys for everything that you've done to support us, to promote us, to encourage us. It's especially interesting when you think about the fact that we have not promoted this show. You won't find any television commercials for AMC Movie Talk. You won't see any AMC Movie Talk posters in AMC theaters around the country. You won't see clips of AMC Movie Talk on AMC screens before movies that are shown. Now, that's not to say that these things may not happen in the future. We're just a half-hour-long show just talking about movies that 100,000 people subscribe to. Thank you so much for your support, and we can't wait to move into the future.
Woo! Ready? Getting some
Ready.
news? All right. A brand new official trailer for the upcoming The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, has hit the web this morning. You can find a link to it in our show notes below. Along with the trailer, several brand new banners for the movie were released in the last 24 hours, which you can see here. The second part of Peter Jackson's new trilogy, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, continues the adventure of Bilbo Baggins as he journeys with the wizard Gandalf and 13 dwarves, led by Thorin Oakenshield on an epic quest to reclaim the lost dwarf kingdom of Erobar. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug hits AMC theaters everywhere on December 13th. John, what do you think of the new trailer?
I'm actually kind of disappointed by it. Are you kidding me? It's awesome. This trailer is incredible. I'm watching this thing and I'm thinking, dear heavens, how good can this be? And it's fantastic. Now here's the thing. I am one of the guys who I really liked the first Hobbit film. I think a lot of people who were a little bit disappointed by it, I think we're looking for the next crescendo from Return of the King. Because if you look at the original Hobbit trilogy, right, or the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, the first one was slower paced. It was more introduction to everything. It was just that kind of getting you as an audience member into the context, into the atmosphere, into the world of Lord of the Rings, right? And then it started to build and build and build and build, and then we had that magnificent Lord of the Rings Return of the King. I still contend the single greatest achievement in cinematic history. And I think that a lot of people, and understandably so, were kind of expecting The Hobbit to be the next step up. But rather, this is a brand new trilogy, and it's bringing us back to that beginning. When I watched the first Hobbit, I was just transported again to Middle-earth, the Shire. I loved it, meeting these characters again, and I was completely immersed in it, and I was ready for the next step. And watching this new trailer, the first one was good. This one's better. So for me, I'm totally ecstatic about this trailer. Hearing the voice of Smaug for the first time, finally, you know, being done, of course, by Khan. Khan is doing the voice of him, and it sounds great. I'm excited about it. Amy Rose, you just saw it. What did you think about the trailer?
It's so amazing. I love me some Middle-earth. I mean, Peter Jackson is so amazing at this world, and the images, I mean, the first Hobbit was very dark in its tone. It was setting up, it was, you know, all of it is about a quest, of course, but this one just feels a lot more vibrant, and the introduction of a lot more characters, saying Legolas, Gandalf the Grey, looks very fierce as always. It's beautiful, and I love this rich world, and you can just feel his passion in it, and I love the material, and I'm okay that they took certain liberties, you know, that it's not following verbatim. I'm okay with that, because I love going on an adventure. It's such an epic quest, and the trailer is gorgeous. And can we talk about Benedict Cumberbatch's voice, "Step into the light"?
Yeah,
it's so good.
That
it's
sounded
so
really,
amazing.
really good.
I'm so excited.
Aaron, what do you think?
I watched it this morning, and although I was just waking out of my slumber, this really helped me get excited, and I absolutely love what I saw. It is visually stunning. I cannot wait to see what the rest of this movie holds.
You know, one of the interesting things, too, when watching, you mentioned Gandalf the Grey. I was talking to Ian McKellen at Comic-Con last year, and he said, you know, there were really two characters. There's Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, and if you watch Lord of the Rings, you know they are really two very different characters. And one of the things Ian McKellen said, he goes, I was so looking forward to going to The Hobbit because I infinitely prefer Gandalf the Grey. Gandalf the Grey has so much more personality. He's up for a good whiskey and a good smoke, he said. You know, and you see that coming across, right? You see that personality of Gandalf's in this trailer, even when he's talking to Bilbo about, what did you find? I found my courage. Okay, good, you're going to need, you know, just that type of mannerism that he has wouldn't be with Gandalf the White. So I'm really looking forward to watching just more Gandalf the Grey in that too. So I think all around, we're pretty excited about this.
Oh yeah.
Lionsgate has released the final official poster for the upcoming sequel, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. The Hunger Games: Catching Fire begins as Katniss Everdeen has returned home safe after winning the 74th annual Hunger Games, along with fellow tribute Peeta Mellark. Winning means that they must turn around and leave their family and close friends, embarking on a victor's tour of the districts. Along the way, Katniss senses that a rebellion is simmering, but the capital is still very much in control as President Snow prepares the 75th annual Hunger Games, the Quarter Quell, a competition that could change Pan Am forever. The Hunger Games: Catching Fire hits AMC theaters everywhere on November 22nd. Amy Rose, what do you think of the final poster?
My girl looking fierce and awesome. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is literally the epitome of cool. She is just such a great actress. She's beautiful. I love all her statements about, you know, not becoming anorexic and having curves, and like, she's just so badass. I love her, and I did read the trilogy. It was a fantastic book, and I'm really excited to see what Francis Lawrence does with this new chapter. I thought Gary Ross did a really good job with the first film, but this was my least favorite of the books. But I still thought it was very interesting, and there's a lot of very difficult images to bring to life. So I'm very curious how they're going to do it, and we're going to have a lot of great new talent. Philip Seymour Hoffman joining the mix. I mean, I'm really, really excited, and I think the poster gives us everything we want it to be. I mean, it's Katniss right there, front and center, with her bow and arrow, looking sexy. I'm really excited about it.
Aaron?
Can I just say that every poster for the Hunger Games movies always looks exactly the same?
They're similar.
Yeah.
It almost, it's like a different angle. Same things going on though. I will not disagree with you though. She looks amazing. She's stunning. She's beautiful. It's a great poster. I just wish there was a little more diversity.
Can't you say the same
in their marketing materials?
For
you
most
know,
films though, they pick a tone, they pick a vibe, and they kind of go with it.
bow and arrow and the fire in the
strategy.
background. I guess so. Consistency.
There is a lot of fire. That's always going on in all the posters, granted.
It's the girl on fire.
True. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I actually like this poster. It looks kind of fierce, and she looks really good. I remember when I met with her for the first Hunger Games, she came walking in the room to meet with me. She goes, "Hey, how you doing?" She goes, "Look, do you mind? I'm just going to take my shoes off. I promise my feet don't smell too bad because I just walk around these things all day." It's like, I like this person very much. just like that. She's very cool. I'm going to say this though. I didn't like the second book. I read. I didn't read the first book.
Which
I read the
is
second
bizarre,
two. Yeah,
John.
I know. But I saw the first movie, so no need to read the book. So I just read books 2 and 3, and I didn't like them all that
Blasphemy.
much. I didn't like them that much at all, as a matter of fact. I thought they were kind of poorly written. But anyway, but I did like the first film, so I'm really curious to see where this film goes. I mean, they've had to change a director, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad
Francis
thing.
Lawrence a better director.
Yeah, but we'll see how well the tone consistently flows throughout the next couple of films, and we'll see where it goes. But if we're just talking about the poster, if I knew nothing about the book and I just saw this poster, I'd be interested. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Crystal Lee has a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then Aaron, Amy Rose, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Crystal Lee, what do we got?
On Sunday night, one of the most popular television shows with a fiercely loyal following, Breaking Bad, had its series finale, breaking the series record for viewers. We get a lot of questions in our AMC mailbag about the potential of certain shows being turned into movies, and Breaking Bad is certainly one of the most talked about. So, John, buy or sell that a Breaking Bad movie would be a no-brainer hit film?
Absolutely sell. Absolutely sell. I mean, and this comes down to a topic we talk about a lot of times. A lot of times people think something that they're into and their friends are into means everybody's into it and that it's huge and massive, and if you did a movie about it, everybody would flock out. Let's put this into a bit of perspective. Breaking Bad set its own record for viewership on Sunday night with 10.1 or 10.2 million viewers.
Amazing.
Okay? Now, put this in perspective too. Duck Dynasty had twice as many viewers. Let that sink in for a second, everybody. Duck Dynasty had double the amount of viewers, which is really kind of hard to fathom. But also, we're talking about movies. Could this translate into a movie? Okay, if you took Breaking Bad, and let's say every single person who watched the finale bought a ticket to go see the movie, which we know from studies doesn't happen. Not everybody who watched it would go see the movie, but let's say they did for argument's sake. That means in total, the film would make about $80 million. $80 million. Is that a runaway smash hit? No. If they made the movie for about $20 million, which maybe you could, but I doubt it with the price tag people are going to have going into this, it might be a profitable movie, maybe, but a smash hit? No way. And people who don't follow Breaking Bad, I don't know that this is a movie you could just jump into not having watched the show and understand at all what's going on. I don't know, Aaron, am I wrong about this? Do you see this differently than I do?
I do not think that you're wrong about this. I think you're very right, John. When it comes to Breaking Bad, I feel like the season finale was great and it did a really good job of wrapping things up, and you have a finite event that happens. Where are they going to go in a movie with this? I mean, I guess the possibilities are endless if you look at different characters, no spoilers, but at the same time, I really don't think that this translates to the big screen.
I agree. Amy Rose?
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it, but Breaking Bad, I mean, that finale, not giving any spoilers, literally one of the best conclusions to a masterful, beautiful, amazing show. The characters, Vince Gilligan can do anything he wants after this. I mean, the talent from everyone in the production, it's literally one of the best shows to ever grace our televisions, and I'm really, really sad it's gone, but to end on such a beautiful high note was amazing. But they don't need a film. It wrapped up perfectly, in my opinion, and I don't need to see it. Not to mention, we're getting a spin-off called Just Call Saul, which is going to be great with Bob Odenkirk, who's an amazing character, and we might get to see Mike and Gus and some of the amazing characters from before because it's kind of a prequel of sorts. So we got that coming, and I mean, Breaking Bad is just incredible. Bravo to that team, but I don't think we need a movie. The story was wrapped up well.
I actually think the show gets overhyped a little bit.
No, it doesn't, John.
I liked it. No, before anybody hates on me,
Brilliant
I liked it very, very much. I wouldn't put it in the top 5 shows of all time.
I would.
But it's very, very good. All right, what's next?
I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but Duck Dynasty, if you watch it, you know why there's so many viewers. Just throwing that out.
All right.
It's brilliant. Columbia Pictures announced that production on 22 Jump Street has officially begun. The sequel to 2012 comedy 21 Jump Street reunites Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum as they return to their roles as undercover cops Schmidt and Janko. They are also reteaming with 21 Jump Street directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the upcoming The Lego Movie. After making their way through high school twice, big changes are in store for officers Schmidt, played by Jonah Hill, and Janko, played by Channing Tatum, when they go deep undercover at a local college. 22 Jump Street hits AMC theaters on June 13th, 2014. Amy Rose, buy or sell 22 Jump Street starting production?
Enthusiastic buy. That movie, 21 Jump Street, was so funny. Channing Tatum showed he is so great at comedy. The chemistry between him and Jonah Hill were amazing. All the other little cameos. Ice Cube was great. I'm really excited. And I had the chance to speak to the directors for the Lego Movie at Comic-Con, and they are so much fun, and I just feel like they're going to really do this justice. They have very, good humor and just a good energy about them, and I'm really excited for a sequel.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a buy as well. And it's funny because 21 Jump Street was one of those movies that for about a year I was saying was going to suck. I mean, think about it. It's Channing Tatum, who I'm sorry, but I've never been on the Channing Tatum train. His Tatum, whatever you want to call it. I have never been on that train. And then I saw him in this one small role in comedy. I thought, you know what?
The Dilemma, right?
The Dilemma.
Yep.
And I thought, he was pretty
was
funny
kinda
in that. Maybe comedy's his niche. And then, but anyway, I was getting bored of Jonah Hill. I was starting, even though I had been a big fan of his, I was starting to get bored of him. And I'm like, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs directors? I like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but for an R-rated comedy, what? And this is why I always say, you know what? I'm just giving my opinion about what I think it looks like, but I'm going to go into it with an open mind, and we'll see how it works out. And it was awesome.
It was so funny.
I think some people call it the best comedy of 2012. I put it as the #2 best comedy of 2012, just barely behind Ted. But a lot of people will put it in the opposite order, and I can't argue that either. The movie was great. I'm really excited to see the second one. I'm really glad Ice Cube is coming back. I've never been, so interested in the religion of Korean Jesus as I was after that movie. Yeah, I was really into it. So, Erin, what about you?
It's a huge buy for me. I'm so excited for this movie. I couldn't be more excited for 22 Jump Street. And I really want to see where these characters go in terms of college. Now we're going to see some college shenanigans, which, gets a little more risque than the high school material. So I'm pretty excited about that. And Channing Tatum has said that he is so excited to work on this and that he is so excited to get the team back together, which I think will result in a comedy that's fun for an audience to watch. And aren't those the best comedies after all?
And it's great that they're bringing, once again, the same directors are coming back as well. I think this is great. What's next?
On May 30th, 2014, the classic Sleeping Beauty villain Maleficent comes to AMC theaters in her own film, re-examining the tale from her perspective and the events in her life that drove her to evil and the eventual cursing of Sleeping Beauty. Now it appears another Disney villain is getting her own movie. It's being reported that Cruella, based on the story of 101 Dalmatians bad girl Cruella De Ville, will be getting her own feature film treatment. The movie will be written by the Devil Wears Prada scribe Aline Brosh McKenna. John, buy or sell Cruella?
I'm going to have to sell this. And I'm also going to sell the pronunciation of Maleficent. Or Maleficent. I constantly mispronounce Maleficent's name. Which actually looks pretty good with our girl, Mrs. Brad Pitt. Yes. That looks pretty cool. But this whole thing about, this seems to be a trend now. Looking at these popular, look, we did it with Sleeping Beauty. We got that whole background story, sorry, Snow White. We got the whole background story of the Snow White evil witch, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got that. Now we're getting it with Angelina Jolie, and now we're going to do it with Cruella De Ville. It's like, I'm bored of it. So for me, right now, it's a sell. Amy Rose?
Cruella De Ville is a fantastic character.
No doubt. I'm not denying it.
I think this is rather funny that most of the Disney villains are women. What you trying to say, Disney? But Maleficent looks fantastic. Angelina Jolie with those glowing green eyes, and like that's one thing. I mean, we see this all the time in Hollywood. When they hit a formula that works, I mean, the buzz around Maleficent is great. We saw a little teaser at D23, which looked fantastic, and she's so passionate about it. And I just feel like Disney's so good at creating these very layered, complex characters. And I think that Wicked, the play, really did something to show the other side of these, you know, what we know as villains, and show maybe there's a little more to the story, and I love that angle with it. And Charlize Theron as the witch I mean, the Queen was fantastic.
That's part of that movie.
Yeah, she was fantastic. The special effects I thought were really good too. But Cruella De Ville could be really fun, and I mean, I'd like to see someone not Glenn Close take it on, and yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I like the villain angle of it.
Did you not like Glenn Close in that role?
I mean, it was fine, but
I think one of the interesting things,
I was a better Cruella De Ville. I was Halloween 2 years
you
ago.
mentioned though that, you know, a lot of the Disney, this is kind of interesting whenever I think about it, a lot of the Disney villains are often women. But it goes beyond that, because we've talked about this before on the show, but when you look at the tradition of the Disney films, a lot of the times, there's no mother character. Whether you're looking at like Beauty and the Beast, there's no mother, just a really nice father.
Oh.
Yeah, the Bambi's mom gets off. Or if you're looking at
Dumbo?
Yeah, Dumbo, that happens with her.
keep going.
But you go on and on and on. It's always a really good father, even in Aladdin, right? This really nice, good father, but there's no mother figure. And if there is a mother figure, usually it's a wicked stepmother. It's like what's going on with Disney?
true.
What's going on? Anyway, what do you think about Cruella?
I'm going to buy this because I love a good villain, and I think Cruella De Vil is just the epitome of evil. I mean, who wants to skin Dalmatians? It's terrible. So I'm looking forward to this movie. Glenn Close is actually an executive producer on this project, so it'll be interesting to see her take on it. But I did actually like her in that movie.
Yeah, she was kooky and cute, whatever. I mean, the movie itself was just kind of silly.
All right, what's next?
The Lincoln lawyer and Roadrunner director Brad Furman has landed his next project. It's being reported that Furman will write and direct Bigger, a biopic of Ben and Joe Weider, the sibling pair who created the Mr. Olympia competition and changed the face of professional bodybuilding. In the depths of the Great Depression, a scrawny, dirt-poor Jewish kid with a 7th grade education picked up a barbell and got hooked on weight training. Building his muscles gave him confidence and hope for a better life. He pledged to make the great transforming power of strength training available to everyone and to give bodybuilding all the glory it deserved. The kid, Joe Weider, enlisted his younger brother, Ben, in his quest, and together the Weider brothers accomplished things much bigger than Joe's boyhood dreams. The Little Muscle magazine Joe had started, working at his family's dining room table, grew into a publishing empire. From a backyard barbell business, Joe and Ben built equipment, food supplement companies, each as big as Weider Publishing, and they transformed bodybuilding into a huge, successful sport organized under one of the largest and best-run athletic federations in the world. Aaron, buy or sell the sounds of Bigger?
This is definitely a buy for me because you guys, this is the American dream, the embodiment of the American dream, and I think that's something that people are interested in. It's a fascinating period of time in American history, the Great Depression. These characters are great, and I would love to see where this all goes. I don't know much about Brad Furman. He doesn't have a huge amount of credits.
Right.
Haven't seen Runner yet, so I don't know much about him in this role as the director of this film, but I think the story in and of itself is so fascinating that I'm definitely going to buy it.
Amy Rose?
Brad Furman's actually the reason I am buying it, because I loved The Lincoln Lawyer. I thought it was fantastic, the tone. I mean, he got such great performances out of his actors. Matthew McConaughey was brilliant. I loved it, and yes, it was based on a book, but what he did to bring it to the big screen was fantastic. So I really do have faith in him, and I don't think this has really been done before. And yeah, it is a very, important part of history, which I'm always fascinated with. So yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I gotta make it a sweep. I'm gonna buy this as well. I mean, for two reasons. One, because I loved Lincoln Lawyer. I loved what he did with that. I thought that was a really underrated, underappreciated film. But more than that, I was really a lot into weight training when I was in high school and stuff like that. And Weider's, the Weider name was huge. just huge in every magazine and everything, and the Mr. Olympia, and when you watch the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on getting pumped, or I can't
Pumping
remember.
Iron.
Pumping Iron, thank you.
Which is a classic.
You understand the influence that they had in there as well. I mean, it's just huge, and you're so right. This isn't a bodybuilding movie. This is an American dream movie. A true story about these guys who actually changed the world from their dining room table. It's just so great, and I think you're right. Audiences love this type of story. Whether or not they're attracted to bodybuilding, I think this will be done well, and I think it'll do very well.
Because I'm not really attracted to bodybuilding, but
Right.
I think the story itself sounds really interesting.
It's fascinating.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question that you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every day we take a couple of questions out of the mailbag and address them here on the show. Chris Lee's got a few messages pulled out, so Chris Lee, what do we got?
Aaron Burks writes, why have Marvel Studios been reluctant to have magic in their movies? I know in Thor, they said that what humans call magic is science to Asgardians. If Marvel Studios does a Doctor Strange movie, will they try to explain magic in scientific terms? Midi-chlorians? Unexplained magic in Lord of the Rings movies and Harry Potter movies worked fine. Also, will DC WB have the same reluctance?
Here's the thing about... Whenever you talk about superhero films and things like that, a lot of people, sometimes you'll have a problem with a superhero film, right? Like I'll say in a Superman movie, oh, I hated that character who's not Superman suddenly did this. Nobody would do that. And inevitably, somebody else would say to me, oh, come on, you buy a guy flying around in blue tights, but you don't buy a woman doing that? Here's my argument against that. The magic part of superhero films, and a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, is the concept of the fantastic within the mundane. In other words, the extraordinary in our ordinary world. When you have a context in a film that it is the ordinary world, that you and I live every day, and that all the rules apply that apply to us, and then you introduce something out of that world, something fantastic into it, that's where the drama comes, that's where the interest comes. Suddenly you have Thor in the real world in a New Mexico desert, and something, things he doesn't understand and everybody doesn't understand him. That's interesting, but it only works, I believe, if you maintain all the other sets of rules that happen within the regular world. Now, you want to bring up Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, that's fine, but those are completely different worlds. Those are worlds where it's the fantastic within the fantastic all the time. And to be honest, like as much as I started to like the Harry Potter films more and more and more as we got near the end, to the point where I actually really enjoyed the last couple of them, they kind of lost that sense of awe and wonder, because everything in the Harry Potter world is magic, and trees come to life and magical beasts, and everything was fantastic. So while I still love the movie, I didn't have the sense of awe and wonder with it. Same with Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was breathtaking in its scope and its brilliant narrative, and it's everything right. But by the third film, while I was enjoying it completely and I thought it was masterful, I didn't have the sense of awe and wonder with it that I did at the beginning, because it's the fantastic within the fantastic. Now, Marvel and DC have done a really good job, I believe, especially with Superman and Batman, things like that, exploring that idea and keeping that context of the fantastic within the mundane. And my one fear, actually, of the Marvel Universe moving forward now is that it seems to be filled with fantastic everywhere. And I'm afraid of the Marvel Universe starting to lose a little bit of that sense of awe and wonder, because now there are 50,000 superheroes running around and everything is superpowers and whatever. But I do think that's why companies like Marvel, Disney have kept the idea of the magical out, because they still want to maintain the regular rules of the regular world, just with these supernatural characters in it. That's what I think they're doing with Doctor Strange. They may have to make an exception if you're going to do Doctor Strange. He's the Wizard Supreme. I mean, how do you get around that? But I think that's why they've done it to this point so far. Amy Rose, why do you think they've done it this way? Do you think it's a good thing that they've done it that way, a bad thing? How would you do it? Yeah,
I think you touched on it perfectly. The approach that they've taken thus far with these films is to keep it very grounded and real. And that's been, I mean, look at Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Look at all the Marvel films. I mean, we accept that Bruce can turn into this giant green rage monster.
Right.
I mean, we accept all these different things, but it still feels very grounded. I believe that Thor is this god of thunder. I mean, because the way they make it feel just much more realistic and like we could interact with these characters, they're choosing to keep it more grounded, opposed to the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potters that you used in your question, Aaron, which allow us and kind of force us to kind of accept a different, I don't know, perception of what we expect magic in the everyday life. And I agree with the Harry Potter trilogy as well, is that it kind of lost, even though I loved the darker kind of, you know, end note that they kind of concluded the whole series on, I missed the magic and mysticism and all of that. And I thought that was part of the fun of like the classes, them learning all the spells and all of that stuff. But with Marvel and DC, I just think that they're trying to, you know, not make it this big comical superhero. They're trying to make it more realistic and gritty and dark. And those are the films that I've really been loving, and those are the ones that I feel like are doing these properties justice. So I'm glad that they are, but there are certain liberties that must be taken with, you know, different characters. I mean, that really define who they are as a character. You can't really avoid that, and if you do, it's gonna really be dumb. So I think that I like what they've been doing, but if you are gonna do other characters, do it right or don't do it at all.
Aaron?
I think that Marvel and DC have done a really good job in keeping things grounded, as you guys mentioned, and it makes the characters more relatable. I think it makes the movie a little bit more universally, I think, entertaining by keeping it more towards maybe a sci-fi genre than necessarily a fantasy genre. But with Doctor Strange, that's a character that's, I'm going to say it's impossible to have that character exist in the cinematic universe without any magic at all whatsoever. So I think we're going to see it in the MCU. So Marvel Cinematic Universe is definitely moving in that direction just by incorporating that character.
Yeah, I love the example you brought up with Thor, and this illustrates it perfectly. There's this great scene in Thor, one of my favorite scenes, and I've seen the film like 20 times, and I still get goosebumps. It's right near the end, after he gets you think he's died, and you know, you see Odin again, he who is worthy, he possesses the power of Thor, and he comes back to life, right? The hammer flies back into his hand, he holds it up, lightning strikes it, his armor starts to assemble back on him, and he walks out of the dust, and everybody's like, oh. Now, I think the reason that had such impact was because it happened in some small little New Mexico town. It was the fantastic within the mundane. If that same scene had happened on Asgard, I don't know if I'd have goosebumps. No, I don't think I'd have goosebumps, right? It was the fantastic within the mundane, and that was a great example, actually, bringing up Thor. So, all right, what's the next question?
Michelangelo writes, hey guys, love the show. Have you heard anything about a Zombieland 2? The first film was really good, and there was talk of a sequel when it was released, but haven't heard anything for a while. Thanks.
Yeah, we've actually discussed Zombieland 2, but it's been about 6 months since we have. Here's how it went. So Zombieland comes out, right? And Zombieland, I think most of us agree, was a really good film. It was fun. It was a little bit of a different look at the whole zombie genre. You know, the characters were funny and engaging. It was a great group of characters. So then they started thinking about Zombieland 2. And they just could never find a script that worked. So then they kind of changed directions and thought, I know, we're going to make a TV series. And they actually did a pilot for Amazon. Amazon, much like Netflix, has launched their own set of original TV programming, right? Or quote-unquote TV programming. The problem is they did the pilot and was dropped immediately. Yeah. Apparently Zombieland fans hated it. The creator of the show actually said that the fans hated Zombieland into extinction. And since that time, then instantly people started thinking, well, maybe they'll make Zombieland 2 again. But the last thing I heard, and this, I think this still holds, was back in January, the director of Zombieland basically said, don't hold your breath. There's nothing planned, there's nothing imminent. That means it's still possible. I mean, we could see Zombieland 2, but it doesn't sound like it's ever going to happen, which for me, it's kind of unfortunate because I wouldn't mind visiting these characters again. Amy Rose?
Now, January, is that a coincidence that the same director, Ruben Fleischer, also had Gangster Squad, which bombed dramatically? So, coincidence, I think perhaps, perhaps not. I loved Zombieland. I thought his take was so fresh. Jesse Eisenberg is just so good in that movie. Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, the chemistry, I mean, Murphy, what is his name? Bill Murray.
Yeah, Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, I couldn't get there. Bill Murray, I mean, everything about that, it was great. It had everything you wanted and more, and it was a fresh take on zombies, and I loved it. But yeah, the TV show was not gonna work. I actually interviewed Ruben and asked what he would think about it. He's like, that's great. He was very diplomatic about it. But yeah, I mean, a sequel would be fun, but again, I think it's one of those stories that isn't necessary. I think that the original was so good, and you know, I would be nervous that they wouldn't keep the same kind of nostalgia and fun from the first one if they just did, you know, here we are again fighting zombies. I mean, it was discovering what the world had become at that point that made it so interesting, and then all his cute little rules, double tap, and like all of that. So I love the first one. If there was a second, sure, I'd see it, but I'm okay ending on a high note, and Ruben Fleischer definitely needs to get back in the good graces of people.
Aaron?
I definitely don't think we'll be seeing a Zombieland 2. And the reason why is because the writers, Brett Reese and Paul Wernick, actually, they wrote the failed pilot. And I don't think they want to sign back on to do a sequel.
That hurts.
Yeah.
I mean,
hurts.
unfortunately, I think...
Amazon doesn't pick it up, that hurts.
And they're doing great otherwise. And so
Yeah.
I really think that it's probably not a project that they're wanting to jump on immediately. And I think that unfortunately, this whole pilot kind of killed any hopes of seeing a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, folks, well, listen, that'll do it for us. We've run all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, once again, we're going to be crossing that 100,000 subscriber mark, and I just wanted to thank you guys again for your continued support and watching us every day and sharing the video around and commenting and engaging. I say this all the time, but I really mean it. The most important part of the show is absolutely not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. Make sure you jump on down to the comments section. Leave your thoughts on any or all the topics that we discussed here today. Agree, disagree. That's the fun part about being a film fan. I want to thank those who are joining me today. First of all, sitting to my immediate right, she's the editor of movie news of AMC Movie News, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach. Amy Rose, where can people find you online?
Thank you so much. You can find me on Twitter at Amy Rosie. Thank you so much for your support.
Miss Erin Darling. Erin, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Erin A. Darling, Facebook, Erin Darling fan page, and YouTube, Erin Ashley D. Thanks for watching.
And our lovely host who keeps everything running around here, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Chrisley.
So my name's John Campbell. Folks, you can find me on social media all over the place, just at my name. Simple enough, pretty boring. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, for AMC Movie News, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.